Alright, so in the name of the Code52 show and tell week, and the fact that I'm stuck in a hotel room for just one more night, I wanted to show another tool that I had recently built in order to solve a specific problem on one of our projects. So the tool is called Verifi. It's available up on the NuGet gallery, and it's described as a simple verification engine for .NET. So what is a verification engine is probably a fair question. So a verification engine is a little bit like a unit test library, but the focus is a little bit different. So what I've got here is a brand new class library project. I've gone and added the Verifi NuGet package to it, and with that has come Newtonsoft.json, and then I also went and added the system component model composition. And that's about it so far. So I can build this. There's nothing in it, there's no classes, there's nothing of interest. But it gets built, it goes into this bin debug directory. If we have a look, you can see that there is this verifi.exe that sits alongside sample verifications DLL. So if I run that, it's going to tell me, couldn't find anything, don't know what you're talking about. So clearly we need to put something into our class library. So verification is really just a class. We're going to call this one the environment works. Whoop, apparently no we're not. The environment works, and it's going to inherit from this verification base class. It's an abstract base class, so you've got to override and implement the doRun method. And now if we run, it's going to tell us the environment works. Hooray, that's handy to know. We're not really doing any sessions or anything in here just yet, but we can. We can come in here and say we connected to the database, and we made a sample payment through the gateway, and whatever other kind of environmental checks we might want to do in here. There we go. And now it's telling us information about what it was that we actually did. So, note, the environment works. We connected to the database. That's all very good. We made a sample payment through the gateway. So this is just normal .NET code in here. We can do all kinds of things. So what if one of the things we do actually fails? So we can add an error and say we couldn't send an email. And now when we run verifi.exe, it's going to tell us, we've got a failure, we couldn't send an email, and the results tell us now that the environment works is now a failed verification. It's no longer true. So we can also pass some context with this stuff. You just pass it a regular object of any description. I'm going to pass it an anonymous object because I'm just showing you a sample and I don't really have anything, but also sometimes this can just be a really quick way of gathering some information from variables that you've got in your local context. So here we've got an SMTP server name that we've gathered from somewhere, mail.something.com. And so now when we run this, it's not only going to tell us that they couldn't send an email, but it's also going to tell us the context of what we couldn't do. We can do something very similar with the database. So we can come in here and say mydb is the name of the database we were trying to connect to, and it will tell us the environment works, we connected to the database, tell us the name of the database. So this is cool. We can get contextual information out to whoever's running verifi.exe at the command line, and this stuff's just really a class. So we can drop these things inside of our production application and then either decide to ship or not ship verifi.exe at runtime, and have it throw some of this information back to the user at runtime. In a production environment, we can run verifi.exe against a real application and actually see whether or not these things pass there. Just to show the results with having two verifications, I'm just going to drop another one in here. I'm not actually going to implement any details in here just yet, but we just want to see getting the results of 2. So another verification now passes, even though it's not really doing anything. Now we can also, although running this from a command line is a neat trick, and we get a nice colorized output, and during development this is going to allow us to run very, very quickly. We can also output an HTML report. We can do that on the build server. Clearly we don't actually want to have that come out on the console, so we'll pipe it out somewhere. Now the other neat trick for running this in the build server is that Verifi, the return code, is actually the number of failing verifications. So if you've got a failing verification, you'll get a non-zero return code, which you can use to break the build, which is nice. Now we've got this Explorer window. A nice pretty HTML report, something that is potentially something that you could hand over to a user or to a manager at the beginning of a day and sort of say, you know, in our overnight run, here is the verification that everything went well. Clearly not everything went well, but here are the things that went wrong, and we'll also give you some contextual information about it, which is all well and good. So one more thing I just want to show very quickly is that if one of these do run methods actually throws an exception, then Verifi will quite happily pick up on that. It will fail the verification, and it will give us the information inside of the exception class itself. It even gives us this stack trace information as a string, should you want it, which is nice and easy. Last thing, we can pass arguments into verifications as well. So Verifi is actually built on top of MEF. That's using MEF to do verification composition at runtime, which means you can export and import things into and out of verifications all over the place. But one of the simplest things you can do is actually to grab strings from the argument collection. So we want a string, we're going to call it foo. It's going to be an argument called foo, and we only want to throw the exception if foo is null or empty. Otherwise we want to add a notice saying we got the foo, and you could run whatever verification that it was that you actually wanted to have in here that read from foo. So one of the things that we use this for at the moment is connection string information. So I'm just going to stop spitting out the HTML report because I don't really care at this point. Right, so verification still fails because we didn't pass in foo. Now if we pass in foo and give it the value of bar, it tells us we got the foo, the value was bar. Nice and simple. So as I said, we're using Verifi to do data conversion verifications at the moment. There are situations where at the end of a data conversion we can make assertions about the data, and they fall quite naturally into clumps of verifications about certain steps in the data transformation process. But we can make assertions about how many records are going to be in each table in the database. We can make assertions about what the first and last key numbers are that we're expecting of certain key fields. We can make assertions about aggregate data to be within certain percentage values, and so a lot of that gets pushed into our base verification class that then everything else inherits from. I can't show you that because it's real production data, but if you want to have a play, you can jump over to NuGet, grab a copy of Verifi. Verifi is also available, the source code is up on GitHub at github.com/wolfbite/Verifi, along with a bit of a readme kind of going through similar sort of idea as to showing you how everything hangs together and what you need to do. If you want to send me any feedback, I'm at Code52, michael.minitillo@gmail.com, or I'm wolfbite on Twitter. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I need to go to sleep because I've got one more day of Udi de Haan's Advanced Distributed Design to go through tomorrow. See you next time.